they have this tremendous respect for the universe, where they say the universe is this big connected thing that all beings and pieces of nature are like a part of, right? And it's all about trying to find sort of like a peace and harmony with the universe around you. This is going to sound goofy. Has anyone watched the movie Kung Fu Panda? Have you seen that one? You're not too young for that one? Masterpiece of a film,
Yes,
right?
I've seen Kung Fu
So,
Panda.
in Kung Fu Panda, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen it, but remember there's the turtle, right? The really old turtle master, Oogway, right?
Yes.
What happens to Oogway in the movie?
He becomes petals.
He dies and he becomes these like flower petals, right? And he's at complete peace when he leaves, right? And he sort of like becomes one with nature around
And
him,
then
right?
he enters the spirit realm.
Yes, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But the point is, he dies completely at peace and he kind of becomes one with all of nature, right? That's what it means to reach nirvana or enlightenment in Buddhist thought, right? You're trying to be completely sort of free of all anxiety, right? Completely at one with all of the universe. And that's kind of their equivalent of getting to heaven. But here's the kicker. Unless you reach enlightenment, you can't do that. Instead, when you die, there's this thing called reincarnation, where you are born again in a different life. How reincarnation works is very complicated, but I would say they have this like weird sort of structure thing, but the basics is, depending on how you live your life, that impacts how you are reborn. So, if you live your life doing nothing but good, right, you're very good to people, you follow all the laws, right, you're not worried about money, all that kind of stuff. When you die and are reborn, you might be reborn into a rich and powerful family, right, as sort of a gift to you for your selflessness. But, on the other hand, if you were breaking laws and you were mean to people and you were like hoarding all your possessions and only caring about yourself, well, when you die, sorry, bud, you're going to be a blade of grass in the next life. Not good.
They can get reincarnated as like non-human.
And so remember, because in Buddhism, the entire universe is all at one with itself, right? It's all connected, right? So, I guess the only way you can become a human again is to be a good cow or something. I don't know.
Do they still have like fucking thought
Oh.
No. Nope. There is no such thing, even in Buddhism, there's no such thing as sentient pieces of grass, right? That's not how it works. But, no, I think it's kind of like being in timeout almost, where it's like, you get to be a blade of grass for a little bit, and then you can try again, you know what I mean? That's how I would view it, at least, right? But, back to Jesus, real quick. Buddhism doesn't believe in God, so they don't really have an official teaching on who Jesus is. But, and I can tell you this from personal, well, sort of personal experience, my mom grew up in South Korea for a little bit. She went to high school there because my grandfather was in the army, right? And Buddhism is huge in South Korea. So my mom, who was a Christian, was going around, like visiting like Buddhist shrines just to sort of like sightsee and be a tourist and that sort of thing, right? And she walked into this big shrine, big fat Buddha statue, right, in this shrine. And my mom was wearing her crucifix. And these Buddhist monks, super nice, super friendly people, right? Super peaceful, very zen. I don't know, is that like still a phrase for y'all?
Yeah.
Very zen. And they walk up to her and they go, "Oh, Jesus is like Buddha, enlightened. But Buddha's better." And then they left it at that, right? So of course they have to still sort of go with what they believe. But
Can your mom come in one day?
can my mom come in one day?
No.
She does not live in Indiana, so that would be incredibly difficult.
Where she live?
Washington, D.C.
What?
Yep. My dad is also in the Army, so
What if
they
Does she
move
come
around.
for the fair?
That's still
Yeah.
Does she
Does she ever like come here? and
No.
visit?
Wait, what if we fly her out? Is that cool?
Put a big flyer out. Miss Jost, is that possible?
I really think this is awesome, and yes, we could fly her in, yes.
I would say she was a teacher, so she absolutely loves to teach. That's actually what she does now, but she teaches at the Pentagon for adults. So, but I'll talk to her. I'll let her know you want to come.
Maybe you could have her on a Zoom.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Miss Kirby fire.
We'll see. I'll say she travels a lot now, so who knows. But, all right. The point of the story is, this Buddhist monk came up to my mother and was like, Jesus, much respect, right? Cool guy. They think he's sort of enlightened just like the Buddha was, right? He lived a good life, he was selfless, he gave things to others, he taught people to do good, right? That is everything that you're supposed to do to reach enlightenment. So, they're like, yeah, Jesus is an enlightened guy too, just like the Buddha, right?
So to reach enlightenment, you can't do anything bad.
Hmm?
To reach enlightenment, so to reach
Correct.
enlightenment.
Yep, correct. You have to be at complete peace. Yep. So, they call him a Maitreya, which means an enlightened being, right? Just like the Buddha, right? He doesn't get the title of Buddha because he's not the Buddha, right? But he's like right up there with them, right? But beyond just that, they also recognize that Jesus was a teacher, right? Just like the Buddha was a teacher. The Buddha, after he reached enlightenment, would go around with his disciples following him and he would teach them, just like how Jesus went around with his disciples following him around and teaching people. So they see him as a bodhisattva, which is the word for a teacher who helps others reach enlightenment, right? Which again, very different from the Christian view, but you can see some similarities there, right? Jesus, what's his whole goal? What's he trying to get us to? Heaven, right? He's trying to get us to heaven. In the Buddhist mind, heaven and enlightenment are kind of the same thing, right? So for them, they're like, yeah, Jesus is trying to get people to enlightenment. Makes sense to me, right? There's like a parallelism going on there, right? Similarities that corroborate the story, right? Even if Buddhism doesn't believe in God, which is a big key difference. Any other questions on Buddhism? Fantastic, yes.
How do they think the universe was made?
How do they think the universe was made? I do not know. That I would have to go look up. If I had to guess, and again, I don't think this is correct or not, but I think they don't really care that how the universe was created. The whole idea of enlightenment is complete peace, right? It's not necessarily about, hey, let me understand everything there is to know, right? It's more so just the universe is around me, how do I become one with it? That make sense? It's not necessarily the most academic of religions. So that would be my answer to that. But I will look it up and I'll get back to you on that.
We close the windows.
One of the windows? Yeah, we can close the windows. All right, we have one more left. Perhaps the most different of them all. Because Hinduism doesn't believe in no gods. It doesn't believe in one god. It believes in many gods. You're absolutely correct. But despite that, it was also developed in India, just like Buddhism was. And they have very similar ideas, namely reincarnation, and also where it is you're trying to get to. For Buddhism, it's enlightenment. For Hinduism, it's called moksha.
Whoa. Mouthful.
So, the goal of Hinduism is for a person to achieve moksha, which is a freedom from reincarnation, just like Buddhism. But the difference between the two, Buddhism focuses on how you act as a person, right? Whether you are at peace or not, right? In Hinduism, because they do believe in gods, right? The idea is you're trying to build a relationship with those gods. Specifically, Shiva, this one in the middle here. Shiva is kind of like the top banana of the Hindu gods, right? Now, the interesting thing about Hinduism is because there are all these different gods, there is multiple different ways in which to practice Hinduism. You're not sort of just like set on one set of rules. Because, as a Hindu believer, they are able to try and reach Shiva through any of these other gods. So, a Hindu person who goes through Brahma might be different from one that goes through Sankara, right? They might have different rules, different expectations based on how they try to practice their faith, right? As such, there are several different interpretations of who Jesus, Yesu, as they call him in Hindi, is. For some folks, Jesus is just seen as a divine guru. Guru is just the Hindi word for teacher, right? So again, we're seeing Jesus sort of put in the position of being a teacher about God, right? Divine, right? So, some Hindu people see Jesus as a divine guru. But, remember I told you, they can focus on any one of these gods on their attempt to get to Shiva. One of them in particular, Vishnu, up here at the top, this blue guy, is of particular interest. Vishnu is the god of preservation in Hindu culture. He is the one you pray to when things are going bad or there's evil in the world, and he's the one who's supposed to protect against that. Some Hindu people think that Jesus is an incarnation of Vishnu. He is the human embodiment of the god of preservation, the one that's supposed to fight against evil. Again, very different, right? Christianity does not say that Jesus is a blue guy, right? But the purpose, the mission, is still there. Why did Jesus come to earth? To save us from sin, which we could also call evil, right? What is Vishnu's whole job in Hinduism? To save people from evil, right? So if they're saying, hey, this Jesus guy, he must be Vishnu, they're at least recognizing, hey, this guy Jesus' mission is to fight against evil, to protect us, right?
I'm sorry, Mr. Gary, I forgot, what did you want us to write about Buddhism?
Buddhism
Buddhism does not believe in God. Thank you for asking. It's very important. So, despite the multiple different interpretations, you can see little pieces of truth about who Jesus is, even in Hinduism, which is like the complete opposite of Christianity, right? Very fascinating stuff. I don't want us to forget where we've come from, though. Let's return to Christianity real quick. What is it that we as Christians believe? First off, the Christian seeks to be in close relationship with God, something that arguably all the other religions also agree with. Buddhism's kind of a special case, right? Buddhism, you want to be in relationship with the universe, and that's kind of like their God, but not really. Hinduism, you want to be in relationship with Shiva, the main sort of head god. Islam, you want to be in relationship with God. Judaism, you want to be in relationship with God, right? The way in which you go about it is different, but all of them, just like Christianity, are all about trying to be in close relationship with God. For Christians, though, we believe that we can get that close relationship through Jesus, who is the Son of God, both fully divine and fully human. What do we call that again? The what union?
Hypostatic.
Hypostatic, very good. Hypostatic union, fully divine, fully human at the same time. And not just that, but Jesus is the Savior of the world who died and rose for the salvation of all. I did not plan this, but this image, what is it a picture of?
Jesus
In the desert. Also, what we base what season off of? And what started today? I did not plan that, but it works out. So, alright. We have gone essentially on a trip around the world, all these different sort of religious sort of schools of thought, and now we've returned to Christianity. Now, in terms of time, this is okay. So we get out at 12:38-ish.
38.
40, maybe. Yeah. Which means we have about 20 more minutes. And I want to make sure that we get to review at least a little bit. So, we're not going to do this in sort of individual work style, but instead, we're going to do it together collaboratively. And this will be okay. We're going to skip that question at the bottom. If we have time, we'll come back to it. But we're going to go straight to the back.
Yeah, I already answered it.
That's okay. Proactive participation is never a bad thing. All right. So, I am no expert, but I did go and I researched a bunch of different religious texts from all these different religions, and I looked through them to try and find things that sort of point to that religion's understanding of who Jesus is, which took me a very long time to do. But worth it, because this is going to be really cool. So,
What is the Ham
the Dhammapada, it is a written sort of account of the Buddha's teachings on how to reach enlightenment.
We're gonna get there.
Alright, so we're going to do this together, which means I don't have to have you bring out your computers or anything like that, so this is good. What we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to look at all of these and see how they're either similar or different from what Christianity believes. Okay? Yes.
Laptop?
Yes, you can. Yep.
Sure.
Alright, so, very quickly, before we get into the other religions, we're going to go in reverse order this time. We're going to start with Christianity and then move outward, okay? So, you'll notice I've already given you Christianity at the bottom, right? Can somebody, I told you we were going to come back to it, right? John chapter 14, verse 6. Can somebody read for me my summary that I gave you, just as sort of an example of what we're looking for here? How about Abby?
Jesus Christ is the path of salvation, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
All right. Next one we can answer as a group. This is very easy. Is this similar or different to the Christian belief? Similar? I thought it was the same thing. Womp womp. All right. You don't have to laugh. Okay. But what we're looking for is we're going to try and summarize what we see up here. And then, after we've summarized it, we're going to say, hey, is this similar or different to what Christianity teaches? Okay? All right. I will take a quest. Which one do we want to look at
It was
first?
funny in my head. Calm down.
Kennedy.
Judaism.
Judaism. We're keeping it simple. We're going with Deuteronomy in the Bible. All right. This one's a little longer, so I'll read it, but other people will get to read the shorter ones. So, here's what Deuteronomy says. If a prophet arises among you, or a dreamer of dreams, and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder which he tells you comes to pass, and if he says, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God is testing you, to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. You shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him, and keep his commandments and obey his voice, and you shall serve him and cleave to him. But that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has taught rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to make you leave the way in which the Lord your God commanded you to walk. So you shall purge the evil from the midst of you. Sophia, what are we being warned against? Not being tested. We are supposed to pay attention and be wary of who?
Satan.
Not Satan. It's talking about, but not just any prophet, a prophet who is false, right? A false prophet, right? Moses is telling the people of Israel, hey, if a prophet is trying to lead you away from God, are they really a true prophet?
No.
No. And what are you supposed to do with them?
Kill them.
Yes. I was going to say get rid of them. But we will go with the actual words. He does say that they should be put to death. A bit drastic, right? We're not going around hacking people up for saying, you're a false prophet, right? But in the law of Moses, which is what this comes from, you are supposed to be incredibly careful if someone is trying to lead you away from God. So the Pharisees, who really like the law, what do you think they're going to pull from this? How would we summarize this?
Follow God
Follow God and not,
and not Satan.
well, not Satan, but not false prophets, right? Not false prophets. We're not even talking about Jesus yet. That's the next part. Now, if you have this idea in your head that you're supposed to be careful of false prophets, and you also have, remember, in Judaism, the Pharisees had a very specific image of who the Messiah was going to be. This big warrior king. If you get this guy Jesus, who's coming around talking about loving your neighbor, right? He doesn't fit your description for the Messiah. So what are you going to treat him as?
A false god, prophet.
False prophet who's leading you away from God. Right? So, is the Jewish interpretation of this similar or different?
Similar.
It's similar, but it's also different. It's kind of a paradox.
Was that
Right?
a question? Sorry.
No, I agree with both of you. Right? It's similar, but it's also kind of different. So, in that second box, maybe we should put something along the lines of
Paradoxical.
it's paradoxical. It's similar, but only as long as you're open to listening to God. Paradoxical would be Paradoxially. Paradoxical. Well, no L.
Paradoxically.
No, that's not what. Paradoxical is though. I got a little too excited. I'm sorry. All right. Are we good with Deuteronomy? Fantastic. Y'all are doing fantastic. What now? Donovan.
Hinduism.
Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita. Before I show you what it is in English, the Bhagavad Gita is a poem. And it is told from the perspective of, you guessed it, Vishnu, the god of protection and preservation. Remember the one that... Right. Well, it's going to get too hot if I close any more windows, so we're almost done. Alright. Now, the Bhagavad Gita is from the perspective of Vishnu. And remember, who do the Hindus say that Jesus is?
Vishnu.
Vishnu, right? As a human being. So, let's see what Vishnu has to say in the Bhagavad Gita. Whenever there is a decline in righteousness and an increase in unrighteousness, O Arjuna, at that time I manifest myself on earth. What is Vishnu saying?
So manifest himself on it.
Yes, so what does that mean?
He's basically saying that when like the world gets bad, he's gonna come
Mhm.
he's gonna come and save them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. When evil grows, Vishnu himself is going to come to earth to fix it. Yeah, the little summary box. That would be a good spot to put that. When evil grows, Vishnu is going to come and fix it. That's what the Bhagavad Gita says. Now, think back to Christianity. What's the deal with Jesus? Why did he come to earth? To save us from sin or evil, right? So when evil grows, what does Jesus do?
Come.
He comes to earth, right? To fix things. So is this similar or different to Christianity?
Similar.
Similar, right. Daniel, how you doing?
I'm awesome.
Hmm?
I am doing
Good. All right. So far we have a paradoxically and we have a similar. Interesting. If I was to pop over another chapter, or not chapter, another verse, it would say, to protect the righteous, to annihilate the wicked, and to reestablish the principles of Dharma, I appear on this earth age after age. To bring people back to God, Jesus destroys evil and brings good. Very similar indeed. All right. The Dhammapada and the Quran. Which one's next? Dakari.
Islam.
Islam. The Quran. Very good.
Oh, I put it in the wrong box.
Me too.
Uh-oh.
No way.
Just draw arrows. I'll know what you mean. All right. And for boasting, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, the messenger of Allah, but they neither killed nor crucified him. It was only made to appear so. Even those who argue for this crucifixion are in doubt. They have no knowledge whatsoever, only making assumptions. They certainly did not kill him. What is the Quran saying? Jesus isn't dead. He was not killed. He was only made to look as if he was. Now,
So they do believe that Jesus was like a
now Jayla, is this similar or different to Christianity? Is it? The Quran's saying that he wasn't crucified.
That's no good.
Is that something that Christians believe? No, right? So this is incredibly different from Christianity.
Wouldn't it still be similar to that
they're still saying that he's not dead, and he's not.
That part would be similar, and that's a fair point, right? There is the belief that Jesus is in heaven, right? That is similar. But the way in which he got there, very different, right? That's a good point. Remember I told you it's good to value the different sort of similarities that we can find? There's the similarity that Jesus is in heaven, for sure, 100%.
We don't have to say why, we don't have to say why it's similar to Christ. We just-
Correct. Yep.
Oh,
Correct. All right.
Similar.
Yes, it is. Last one. The Dhammapada. Let's see the wisdom of Buddha real quick.
No way, I just did that again.
According to Buddha, specifically this one right here.
Bro.
To avoid all evil, to cultivate good, and to cleanse one's mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. Essentially what Buddha is saying is, in order to become enlightened, what do you have to do?
Avoid all evil.
Avoid evil,
Cultivate good.
do good, and what's that last part?
Cleanse one's mind.
Cleanse yourself, cleanse your mind specifically. What does Jesus say not to do?
Sin.
Sin.
Don't sin. What does he say to do?
Cultivate good.
Yes, but specifically he says to do what with your neighbor?
Love thy neighbor.
Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? And, not exactly the same language, but what does he do in a river?
Baptizing.
Aha! Which is a
Cleanse.
cleansing, right? Of the soul. So the Buddha and Jesus, are they teaching similar things or different things?
Similar.
Very similar things, right? No wonder those Buddhist monks, when they walked up to my mother, said, yeah, enlightened, just like the Buddha, right?
I just heard one.
Very good, very good. All right. That is all that is on that paper. Now, before we move, I will come around and I will collect these. I don't want us to all get up and shuffle around and move, right? Because I want to get to review and we only have like 10 minutes.
Can you review at the beginning of next class?
No.
So
Wait, why can't we just review like the whole class like we used to?
We didn't used to do
I
that.
swear we used to.
We
I
definitely
sort of
didn't.
kind of used to too.
Yeah, like we literally the entire class.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but normally we're not on Ash Wednesday.
Wait,
Right?
when we used to,
We used to
We used to
I don't
have
even know
much
which one's
longer
which.
time to review, but we don't have.
I'm over here
that
trying to
today.
decipher it.
so we can't do a blue paper.
We are doing a book.
Wait,
Wait,
That's
which
what I'm doing
which one's
right
Vishnu?
now.
Hinduism?
All right. Your job right now,
Which one's the one that doesn't believe he got crucified? Islam?
that would be Islam.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Your job right now is to
Majinja.
get your device out so we can do this book at real fast speed round.
Majinja.
And I will come around and I will collect those from you. No, do not worry about that question. That's okay.
Hey, if you can figure it out, you can figure it out. If you can read it, you can copy it. It's cool.
This is the first time we haven't had an
Laser tag beta.
I try not to do exit tickets on review days because I'd rather us review, right? We will do.
Why am I on low power?
All right. Your job. So your job. Get logged into the booklet so we can start it. I will come around and I will collect those from you. Thank you. Much. Alrighty. Yes. Thank you both. Alright. Thank you. Much. Thank you. Go, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. All right.
It's because I don't want to say how
For the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and hit start. If you're not in, the code will still be up. I wish you the best of luck.
I wanted to take my friend.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure you get as much time to review as possible.
Whoa.
While you do that, just some details about what that test is going to entail.
You